Jill, this is Officer Burroughs. We traced the call. The call is coming from inside the house. Did you hear me? The call is coming. The call is coming from inside the house. My fucking goodness, 2006 is calling me. And they were calling me about my car's extended warranty. I haven't even had a goddamn warranty on a car in quite a fucking while. And how the hell was 2006 contacting me in 2022, the year of our Lord and Savior, I don't know, insert popular celebrity here? Well, that was certainly something. I'm John Renton with the retro review of When a Stranger Calls from 2006, directed by Simon West. Yes, the director of Con Air did this. If you're not familiar with When a Stranger Calls, well, it was a remake of, wait for it, the first 20 minutes, actually, of When a Stranger Calls that came out in 1979. And I believe starred Carol Kane, if I recall correctly. Yes, one of the ghosts of, I believe, the present that was in Scrooge that hit Bill Murray over the head with a fucking toaster. She was in that as a babysitter that hadn't checked on the children. And then bad shit happened, and the calls were coming from inside the house, and that was the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then she was haunted by that, and then she was, it was a really semi-creepy thriller, not really all that great, and hasn't aged all that well, especially with the advent of technology, but nevertheless, they also did When a Stranger Calls Back. And then they decided to do this, because the 2000s was just full of remakes for no goddamn reason. Horror remakes and just a bunch of stuff. Sometimes they would take, stuff from the 70s and 80s. Hell, 2006 had a Black Christmas remake that somehow wasn't the worst Black Christmas remake because that came out in 2019. My fucking goodness, that was terrible. This basically takes that 20-minute concept and stretches it out to a full-length feature. And it's from writer Jake Wadwall, not Bawa Walters. He did the 2007 version of The Hitcher as well as the 2019 version of Jacob's Ladder. So yeah, with that much talent behind it, it couldn't help but, well, just flop horribly. It was really, really fucking shit. It is available on Hulu as of this review, so there are certainly worse ways to spend your time, but as far as remakes of stuff that was kind of okay to begin with, this was pretty fucking bad. And because it's a retro review, a lot of spoilers. All the goddamn spoilers. Not that there's much to spoil in something that, again, takes the 20-minute opening of 1979's When a Stranger Calls and stretches it the fuck out. Camilla Bell, in pretty much her big breakout role, I mean, she'd been in other stuff before, but this is when she was going to become the next bright, young, hot actress in the later 2000s. She would be in 10,000 BC and Push, and then after that, really wasn't in a whole lot of stuff. I mean, according to her IMDb, she's been in various movies since then, but she plays Jill Johnson. I gotta say right now, Camilla is lovely. She, seems like she was trying in this movie, but her character was just a whiny, bratty. You couldn't root for this goddamn girl at all because she just seemed totally inept, possessed no ability to see any, anything wrong with the house, even though it was directly in front of her. And because, again, it was just taking the opening of a movie and stretching it the fuck out. People had to just do endless walking around, the same repetitive stuff. Tommy Flanagan was the stranger, but the voice of the stranger was Lance Henriksen, who at this point was starting to resemble Pumpkinhead before the makeup job. And then after the makeup job, that's Lance Henriksen now. Well, that's totally goddamn mean. Basically, Jill Johnson runs up her phone plan, by 800 minutes. Remember when cell phone plans had, minute plans? And now so many companies offer unlimited minutes because they're desperate to keep people. And cell phones are no longer the flip phones. They're smartphones like the ones I'm filming on. And they're just all this crazy technology where soon they're going to be able to go directly into our brains and just pull thought out. So it's going to be Skynet. Skynet's going to become self-aware one day. And we are all fucked. But before that, let's talk about the rest of this. So yeah, Tessa Thompson was in this. Yes, from the Thor movies. Tessa Thompson was in this, who's a pretty terrific actress. Also, Katie Cassidy, who I'm not that familiar with, but she was one of Jill's friends. Really not a big cast here. Not a big cast considering it takes place in one fucking house after an initial school opening. And that comes after the actual opening where we just hear a girl being called by somebody that's very, very creepy, Lance Henriksen. And then she's killed because she's doing a babysitting job. And apparently the children were killed. while a carnival was literally 20 feet away. Who the fuck would allow a carnival to be that goddamn close to their house? Is there no zoning permits in wherever the fuck state they decided to actually film in? They then went to Colorado, but I couldn't get over that. How in the world was this carnival actually, like, up to code? It didn't look like any of the rides had been, like, renovated since the 1950s. And it's also PG-13, so we don't get to see any violence. Literally no violence. I mean, they say all the kids were hacked up and everything and ripped apart, and what the hell, there was no weapon, and this one cop that looked like a boiled potato with a little bit of a hair island is throwing up, and then they're carrying out the kids in garbage bags and everything. Hefty, 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 wimpy, wimpy, wimpy stomach. But, basically, Jill Johnson, she had, it just sounds like it sounds like a indie wrestler's name if they, like, had nothing, like a name generator in, like, an early wrestling video game. If you're a non-wrestling fan, you have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. It's like Jack Johnson and John Jackson. Well, I think your tax break goes too far, and I don't think your tax break goes not far enough, or however that Futurama bit went. Jill has to take on a babysitting job, even though, yes, she ran up the phone bill talking to her now ex, who kissed another girl, and he liked it, the taste of her cherry chapstick. I always break that up for no goddamn reason. But nevertheless, she takes on this job in this very secluded, but very, very beautiful, like, lake front property. I don't actually think it was an ocean. It was filmed in Colorado, and pretty damn certain, unless geography totally failed me, that Colorado is nowhere near the goddamn ocean. Probably near the Colorado River. It'd be weird if it wasn't. What ended up happening is she takes this job. She's going to get quite a bit of money. She gets led around the house. It's all fancy. You don't even know. These people have been in the fast lane from LA to Tokyo. There's no fast lane that goes from LA to Tokyo. They haven't invented that road yet, and it won't be invented until the device is complete. But they find the children are sleeping upstairs. Well, the mother says that. And also there's a cat. An adorable black cat that crosses your path and it doesn't break your mama's back. Wait, that's if you step on a crack. Nevertheless, enough about the superstitions that Stevie Wonder and then later Alicia Keys sung about. We see that, well, Jill is not exactly all that smart. She can't figure out how to turn on a stereo. She can't figure out how to turn on a TV. She can figure out how to turn on a fireplace. It's amazing that Jill was ever able to get out of bed. And then she gets the alarm clover, Crimson and Clover, over and over. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, great to see them 3 years ago. 8734509, that's not necessarily the same catchy song. And she can't figure out technology. She starts getting calls, and it's just weird stuff, and then they're prank calls. Her now ex has, had one friend pranked her, and then he put a stop to it. And, well, the ice maker is making noise and everything. The housekeeper is supposed to be there, but the housekeeper we never see because we can't actually afford any other extras except for corpses that pile up a little bit later in badly placed spots where you wonder, how the fuck did they not see them? The garage door is open. Tiffany is suddenly there because the garage door was open. So I wonder how the person got in the house. Probably through the air ducts. And it turns out she kissed Jill's ex because I saw him first and I needed my kiss. She's her friend. And then, more of the calls keep happening. She can't get a hold of Bobby because, god damn it, Bobby with your bad connection. Oh! And all the phone ringing somehow didn't wake up the children. Apparently the children were given the same thing that Chris gave to Daniel, and probably they got the same goddamn treatment. Nevertheless, if you're a non-wrestling fan, you have no idea what I'm talking about. The cat was the best actor in the movie. And we cut to this bonfire thing where apparently they had Colorado Burning Man. And the calls keep happening. She calls the cops. They find out, okay, we got 60 seconds to trace the call. So they do that. How are the children? Have you checked on the children? What happened to the children? No! So we finally kick this goddamn thing up. Barely. We barely get out of first gear. Hell, this thing is barely in neutral, for God's sakes. It's in park for most of the time. It'll take 20 minutes for a car to get there once it's dispatched. And also, there's a guest house over there that may have the son that is in college, and for no goddamn reason, the biggest windstorm in Colorado history decides to hit, so these trees are almost falling over, uprooting, and going twister style off here. And she can't trace the call because the killer stuck on the phone for 62 seconds, but on the wrong phone. And then they were able to finally trace it. The calls are coming from inside the house. Did you hear me? The calls are coming from inside the house. Get out of the house now. And then she finds the children who are stuck in a particular area. This is right after she got a threat saying, what do you want? Your blood all over me. Well, some guys love women every day of the month. Now that image is in your head, you're welcome for that. She basically walks around slowly, very slowly, because we're padding the fuck out of this movie. And then there's a bird sanctuary that the cat is always looking at because cats love birds. Ooh, the birdies, bite into the birdies. What my producer likes to do. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, if you're a new subscriber, hi, and also I have a 20-pound cat. So he likes to bring gifts in the form of birds, many birds, because that's all he does. Nevertheless, that's what cats do. The kids are too short to get to the big lock on the door. So Tiffany is also dead because she got killed at some point off camera. And the housekeeper is also dead. So there's these bodies in there that seemingly have been dead for a while. And I know that it takes a bit for dead bodies to start to smell. You would think that smell would kind of permeate through a house, even a house that big. The birds die, and the cat is eating them because it's fucking hilarious. This guy is stuck in the greenhouse area, the bird sanctuary, whatever the fuck it is. He somehow manages to get to Jill. The kids get away. She manages to lock him in there, where he kind of pulls some of her hair out after she manages to lock him in there because the door gets stuck on her hair, and she does this. So now she's Camilla Bald. I'm sorry, it had to be said. It didn't, but I did anyway. And she basically puts a fire poker through his goddamn hand after throwing a bottle of alcohol and grabbing the remote and turning the thing on to scare him with the fire because he danced into the fire, and then she jammed the fire poker in his hand. Here's the cops. The cops get in there, they arrest him. He's on enough painkillers and whatever, or downers to knock out an elephant, so he's still alive somehow. Then she's in the hospital, has dreams of the phone ringing. Oh, he's in the house, and she doesn't realize she's in the hospital. And basically, they went around their elbow to get to their wrist to just get about 85 minutes out of this when it barely had enough material for about 20. So yeah, that was When a Stranger Calls. Thankfully, we didn't have any other phone-related movies in the 2000s. Oh, we had Pulse 2 years before, the remake of the pretty good Japanese movie. And then also, we had One Missed Call, which I may retro-review because somehow that was worse than this. This was grounded in reality-ish, but it was still really shit. Let's just take those notes and let's never speak of this movie again. Yeah, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.